The effects that a bad partnership can have on a business can be absolutely devastating. I have seen firsthand the financial and emotional devastation that can occur because of a broken partnership. I've actually been part of one. So look, there are definitely things you can do to make sure going into a partnership that the foundation is set correctly. And if you're in a partnership right now that's not so great, there are things you can do to not only improve it, to make sure that it endures, but also that you both can thrive. If you want to know what those things are, stay tuned. I'm about to show you. I'm on a mission to help 200,000 practice owners achieve financial freedom. I'm Eric Miller, author of How to Become a Financial Beast. Download my free book today, A Practice Owner's Guide to Personal and Business Wealth You Never Thought Possible. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Financial Beast podcast. I'm your host, Eric Miller, co-owner, chief advisor, Econologics Financial Advisors, here with Mr. Eric Gersh.
Good morning.
One of our advisors extraordinaire. So in case you don't know, we help healthcare clients, healthcare owners, healthcare associates elevate their financial experience through the premier financial advice and guidance that we give. I think that's a pretty true statement. So just make sure you guys check us out at econologicsfinancialadvisors.com. And a reminder, if you're brand new to this channel, hey, share the content, like the content, give us feedback. Subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. You've heard it 100 times. But we definitely want to make sure that we get your feedback. So, okay, let's go. Let's roll.
All right. What are we talking about?
You know what we're talking about today.
I do know what we're talking about.
Partnerships.
Yes. The P word.
So let's get into where this came from. So, I don't talk to a lot of people anymore, but I do have a number of clients, and some have unfortunately gotten themselves into some partnerships.
Yep.
When they actually didn't even need to. They didn't even need to. I don't know why they did. I could see the benefit, blah, 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 but they got themselves into a partnership. Well, as generally happens, or what could happen to partnerships, guess what?
Things go bad.
They go bad. And, look, I don't think anybody goes into a partnership thinking it's going to stop. Look, I've been through a bad partnership, and, no one really thinks it's just going to go to shit right away.
Of course.
You go into this thing, everyone's optimistic. Everyone's, like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it gets hard.
Yep.
And then what ends up happening is that people just go in two different directions. And I'm just trying to wonder if there's anything that you can do to prevent that from happening. Like, I don't know if you can prevent 100% of partnerships from going bad.
No, because you can never prevent the human element.
Yeah, because people change.
People change, emotions change, life changes.
Yeah. And when things go bad, you have a tendency to actually find out a little bit about the person too. Because when things go bad, there is two ways you can go. We can fight it, or we can just leave and depart. Okay. And that's unfortunate because, if the purpose was strong enough, then you could figure it out. But, look, partnerships aren't inherently bad.
No.
I think we have some clients that have some decent partnerships with one another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of them.
And so I just want to start like raking this a little bit and seeing what we find in terms of, the bad experiences with partners and really what went wrong, and then some of the things that you can do to make sure that they go right.
Yes.
So, what's the first bad sign of a partnership is the reason that you got into it. And the reason that you got into it was because this guy was your friend.
Or family.
Or family, right?
Yep.
So
if that's the sole reason, Halt.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yes. And look, I did the same thing. So like, I get it. I got into it because, hey, this guy's my friend. And, oh, by the way, I kind of like the purpose of this. And this looks like it could be fun. So let's do it. But, there's other character points that you have to
that in and of itself is not enough.
No, it's really not, because you're just going to be like, okay. Like I said, it's not when things are going great. It's when things get difficult and hard and people want to start doing other things. And can you actually like coexist with this other person?
Yeah.
So that's, I think that the first trap is that I would not get into this thing with just because you're friends. Now, I'm not going to say that doesn't help, because obviously there has to be some level of affinity there with each other.
Yeah.
But I think the strongest partnerships that we've seen are when the two people that are partners know their roles.
Yeah.
Know their roles. So I'm trying to think of a couple partnerships that we have. And I don't really think it's just like, when I say know your role, just like, okay, this person is really good at the medicine side.
Yeah, no, I can think of one.
Yeah.
I have a client who has had multiple partnerships with the same person.
Yep.
And my client is really good, like you said, on the medicine side, running the doctors or therapists or whatever they are, the practitioners. The other partner is great with like the HR side of things, the staffing, the I guess call it the back office stuff. And so because of that, it's kind of like, okay, you stay in your lane, you handle this, I'll stay in mine. And they don't, they don't try to cross over into each other's areas.
No,
there's that mutual respect because they both know that the other person has it.
That's right. And I think that's why that ends up working. Yep. So I think the first thing is that you really have to identify, if you're going to partner with somebody, like, they can't do the same things you do. Because all you're going to do, if they're really good at what you do, then you two are just going to bash heads.
Yeah, you're just doubling up.
And there's going to be like a lack. I mean, like, why do bands go bad? Because somebody wants creative control over something. Yep. And it's just like, no, like, you're the drummer, you're the guitarist, I'm the singer. And everyone knows their roles. And when we come together, we produce really, really good music. And it's not, because of somebody, it's just like, that's what happens. So I think before you get into a partnership, you guys got to realize that person, has to be able to do things that maybe you don't like to do or want to do, but they have to do them very, very well. Yeah. So that's, I think, number one. Number two, boy, you guys got to have the same goals in mind before you start this thing. And, we'll kind of go goals and purposes as well, because I mean, I've run into this. We've had one partner that really wants to, like, I want to take this thing to, 6 multiple associates and have multiple clinics. And the other person just like, I
just want to sell it.
Or I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
Coming in and doing my day to day. And, if we want to grow, that's fine. You can do that though. Like that partnership's not going to work.
No.
That partnership's not going to work. So before you guys get into a partnership, really make sure that you're aligned with what the ideal scene of the practice or the business should look like.
That's a good point.
So that there's like no discrepancy down to a T. We want to get to a $10 million practice. We want to have 5 associates. We want to have 3 locations. We want to sell, in year 25 for blank amount of money. Like, I would get granular on this so that, and look, things are going to change.
Of course.
But I think
life still happens.
Yeah. But when you're starting off, like, you have to have that kind of
you have to be on the same runway initially.
Yeah, you have to be on the same runway as far as like where you want to see the practice go. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then the purpose of why you're doing this as well has to like be similar, like why is it that we want to do this? Okay, well, we both really like to help, healthcare owners become financially, elevate their finances. Okay. Like that's a purpose. And we want to help as many practice owners and associates, get into a better financial condition. That's a purpose. All right. So you got, if one person, well, I just want to make a bunch of money and leave. Like that's not going to work.
It's not really a purpose. You know,
that's more of like, that's more of an outcome or a goal.
But it's not a purpose.
Yeah. There's got to be a strong purpose behind it.
Let's not just make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Because when things get hard, which they do, like you're going to have to go back and to them and say, hey, you remember when we first started this thing? You remember why we did it? You remember why we're showing up and we're here right now?
Yeah.
It wasn't because of, it was all about the money. It was because we wanted to do this. Remember that?
There was something else that you wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. So that I think those things definitely have to be in alignment as well. I'll say this, you got to know the character of the person that you're dealing with, and this is where I think people get into blind spots. They justify bad acts from their friends. I think we've all done that before. Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's like, he's my buddy. It's just the way he is,
Oh yeah.
He's
I've never done that.
He's just, he likes to go out and then look at other girls, and that's just what he does. It's just his thing, but he's my buddy. He's been my buddy for a lot. You know what I mean? Like they overlook pretty bad character flaws.
Yeah.
And other people. And like, I mean, no one's a saint.
Yeah. No one's perfect, but there are, there's being an imperfect human and there's blaring red warning flags.
You're right.
They're not the same thing.
They are not the same thing. There's definitely being human and making mistakes. And, how does that person generally handle when they do something wrong? Do they like say, you know what, you're right. I kind of F this up. Let's let me take responsibility for this and make up the damage or whatever we have to do.
Yeah.
Or is it just constant like defensive, like it was you. It's all because of you.
Deny, defend.
Yeah. But you did this and you always did this. And what about you? You
made me do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this is so that's, again, that's a bad character flaw. So again, when you are looking to partner, you guys got to make sure that the that person has, certain traits that are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And honestly, looking at their financial condition as well is probably pretty important. How do they handle money? How do they look at money?
I'd say that's very important, not pretty important.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't, you got to, it's just like when you get into a marriage, right?
Yep.
If one person is a huge saver and one person is just spend, shop, you're gonna butt heads. It's inevitable.
Yeah. So in that case, either that person that's really good with the money is in control of it and the other person's okay with that. Or you don't partner with somebody like that. You just don't.
I would avoid it.
I would too.
I would avoid it because even if that, even if you're the person good with money and the other person says you can have control.
Yep.
You can have control until they decide to fight you on it. And then it's back to reality that you're 50-50.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I would say that's just there is no middle ground there. If you guys aren't compatible on a financial level,
yeah,
you're not compatible as partners.
Yeah, because it's all good. It's generally come down to, I mean, the things that we've seen of where the partnerships really break down have generally been some of the things we talked about already. Like one person like wants to, is really a go-getter and the other person's just kind of like a meh, Like that, I think that creates some animosity between the two. And what are some of the other things that I've seen that create bad partnerships?
I've seen a lot of bickering over, and this is kind of a life thing. It can happen to anyone, but selling, one person just decides like, hey, I'm 60, I've had enough. And the other person's, 55, and they're like, I got 5-10 years left in me.
Yep.
Yeah. That's been an issue a couple times.
So that's going to go to my next one, which is the agreements and the lack of agreements that are in place.
If you're in a good partnership, you don't need agreements, dude. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding. For anyone not watching the video.
Yeah, really. So what are we talking about here? I am dumbfounded at how bad the agreements are going into partnerships, of how things are not spelled out.
You might be dumbfounded at the agreements. I'm dumbfounded at the amount of people who don't even have a partnership or like an operating agreement.
They don't have. Yeah. So what we're talking about here are like the legal arrangements that you have to have when you're in a partnership. And that's the one thing. I mean, shit, you can download like partnership arrangement and agreements.
Yep.
In in any business. And most of them are just like templates. And they're really terrible. They're awful, because generally speaking, it gets down to, to point where one person wants to leave and all the bickering starts. And it really shouldn't. It should be clear as day how to get out of a partnership.
Yeah.
Right. It should be clear as day how that person can get out of a partnership. Okay. And unfortunately, people, I don't know whether they just don't want to confront it. Like, oh, well, no, this will never go bad. So we don't need to like include all these, all this language in here. This seems so unnecessary. I've known this person for so many years. I trust that they'll do the right thing.
I think it's a mixture of that. And I think it's just a mixture of that with basic human laziness, where people are like, yeah, we've been friends for decades. It'll be fine. I don't really want to spend the time and the money on an attorney.
Yep.
He's a good guy.
No one wants to spend. No one really. I think it really does come down to the cost of doing this, but
it's not even that expensive.
It's not. It's really not.
A couple $1,000 at most.
What are we talking about here? I think in every partnership there is going to be, obviously there's an operating agreement, right? And there's also there should be. And kind of define what an operating agreement is. Do you have like a good definition of an operating agreement that you can pull up?
An operating agreement really just I guess spells out who is responsible for what and what the terms, like the roles, the responsibilities, the rights, all those important building blocks of who does what in the partnership is spelled out there.
Yeah.
Ownership, voting, even down to it'll spell out how profit and losses are distributed amongst the partners.
I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's like, and then there's everything. There's a member, and I think with like an LLC, there's like a member agreement as well.
Yep.
Right. Which basically will outline a lot of those things. Now, of course, we're not attorneys, so we could be wrong on some of this stuff. But my point is that there are certain, either members agreements, operating agreements. These are all things you have to have. Okay. And they have to be able to address every situation that could occur during ownership. Okay. Now, if you're going to be in partnership with someone for 20 years, all right, let me tell you something. Stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
Things are going to come up. And it's got to address health
problems,
if
disability.
If someone has a health issue and they can't perform their functions, okay, what are their rights as an owner? If someone becomes disabled, okay, what's the protocol going to be for that particular member? What happens if someone gets just flat out just becomes like a criminal or does something, like extremely wrong, that it shines a terrible light on the practice.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like an affair with their front desk person or something like that. Okay. Like there should be language written in, like a moral clause or something like that, in everyone's agreements. Like says, hey, dude, like if you do something that brings, bad repute to this organization, you can be removed.
Yeah.
As an owner. Okay. As you said, there should be something in writing about how the profits are going to be distributed. Are we going to do it quarterly? Are we going to do it monthly? Are we going to do it weekly? What's it based upon? Yep. I had one go bad because one of the owners wouldn't give a distribution to the other owner to pay the friggin' taxes.
I was just going to say the money part. I had one go bad because one guy wanted to have the profits distributed on an ongoing basis so that they could use it for lifestyle and savings and all that stuff. And the other guy just wanted to stockpile it inside of the business.
Yep.
And I don't even know why. They have no need to, but to just have a never-ending emergency fund, basically.
Yeah. Which, I'm not going to say that's bad, but you got two totally different viewpoints.
You're two opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Like that's not even close. So you got to have a plan on how you're going to distribute profits. Have a system set up. This is one of the things that I think we do so well is we show people like, look, you can do all these things that you want. Okay. But you got to have a system set up to do it. And if you don't, then, you're going to have problems with your partners.
Yeah, and you've hit on this too a couple times, but in the partnership's operating agreement, it will also spell out how the shares can be bought and sold and how partners can leave the business.
Exactly. And that's the other part. Like if one person wants to leave, I've had calls where people are like, I just don't know how to get out of this thing. Like, go read your agreement. What does it say?
Yeah.
Like what does it say?
Out.
It should be spelled out. Like if I want to get bought out, this is exactly how it happens. Okay. And generally speaking, I'll tell you how it happens. There is there's language in there that says that there should be a valuation that's done on the business. Okay. By someone that we can agree upon.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you're going to do an internal sale like that, I can tell you right now, there is going to be a discount applied to the value because they're going to have to replace what you do. And that's obviously going to bring the value down to a degree.
That's not free.
No, it's not. It's not going to be the same value as if you sold it to a corporate entity.
No.
Okay. So just get that out of your head that you think you're going to get, 15 times earnings, based upon whatever that is. It's just not going to happen. Okay. But it should be spelled out. Okay. And, that language should be in there. You get an evaluation done. We establish the price point. The payout could either be a lump sum or you're going to have to carry a note for some period of time. That's how we have ours spelled out. If we wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that's how it's going to happen, but the language is written. So it's very clean. Right. And it's like, it's there. And this is where, people have to think about these things because, someone could get sick. Someone could, and then what happens to the shares if that person dies?
Yes. That's a big one. That's a big one because if that's not spelled out, now you're going to become partners with your former partner's surviving spouse.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have the buy-sell. Obviously the buy-sell language has to be included in all these agreements as well of, if this person dies, then we have, insurance policies to fund, the buyout, or I got to pay this person. But that all has to be written out.
Yeah.
And this is what it boggles my mind. The number of people that just do not have these, where a competent attorney could do all this,
Absolutely. You're not asking for the sun, moon, and stars right here.
No.
These are basic documents.
Yeah, this is not difficult. So anyway, I think these are kind of the core things that you have to like make sure that you have in place. So, obviously make sure that when you're looking at a partner, it's not just based upon friendship. Obviously being a friends is going to be good, but it can't be just based upon that. You got to look at their character, the roles that they're going to play, the skill set that they have, how they deal with money. You have to make sure that you guys have very similar goals and purposes that are very strong. You have to make sure you guys, have the same viewpoints on finances and money and how you're going to handle it. And then you have to make sure that all of the agreements spell out every kind of disaster that could happen, like worst case scenarios that could happen are all spelled out. So there's no mystery as far as if things do go wrong. Okay, great. This is what we do to get back, to, not being partners anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Pretty thorough.
I think that was great. All right. So there's your list, guys. If you don't have a partnership that is based upon those things, it's never too late to get on the same like what's the word I'm looking for?
The same page?
Same page with your
I was just going to add to that.
Yeah.
Even if you're already in a partnership and you don't have like an operating agreement, you can still get one.
Yeah, you can. You should,
And you should. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably it may be a little difficult to like, especially if you guys are in disagreements about a bunch of things, but have an attorney help. Kind of be an intermediary on that one.
Yeah, an attorney can mediate a middle ground and get something in place.
Yeah, and if you ever having difficulties with your partner, I'm telling you, you're going to have some difficult conversations, but just get in communication, live communication. Don't text, don't email, don't do all that other, lazy stuff. Like sit down, have the hard conversation, say this is what you're feeling, seeing if we can reconcile this, seeing if we can get on the same page. And if you can't, try to make it as amicable as possible for both parties. But you're not stuck. Okay. You're only stuck when you think you're stuck.
Yes.
And you got into something, you can get out of it. It may be messy, but you can get out of it. So make sure that you do that. And again, if you guys need any help with that, don't call us on the bad partnerships because we're not going to help you with that, but we can help you on the financial side, giving you guidance, making sure like this stuff doesn't get to this point, and that you're feeling the positive effects of your practice profits. Okay, we'll see you guys on the next podcast.